Guys, it's here. Forbidden West is finally here, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm loving it. I'll be honest, I was a little worried it wouldn't be able to live up to the hype, but I'm so glad I don't have to worry about that anymore because personally, I think this game is outstanding. The natural landscape is, of course, gorgeous. I mean, there's just a phenomenal level of detail everywhere you look. And they also definitely delivered on the world feeling more alive and full. Even just the first settlement chain scrape, which, by the way, is a small one on the scale of Forbidden West, already feels more energetic and full of life compared to even Meridian, which was the biggest city in Zero Dawn. Beyond just admiring the world, my favorite part so far has been the challenge of figuring out all the new things like crafting at workbenches, the new weapon and outfit modification systems, and the best tactics for taking down all the new machines. Of course, another big challenge has been learning the new skill tree. As you guys know, skills have been totally overhauled from the first game, and the skill tree is a lot more complex now. Overall, I really like how much more intricate it is, but at the same time, it can be pretty confusing trying to figure out how it all works and which skills you should spend your skill points on first. I'll have a video coming out soon that's more of a deep dive into how the skill tree works overall, but in this video we're going to keep things simple and I'm going to give you what I think are the 6 most important skills that you need to get right from the start in Forbidden West. So let's dive into number 1. So we're actually going to go through these skills in the order that I think you should get them. And the very first one you should get is Potent Medicine. Potent Medicine is the first skill in the Survivor skill branch of the skill tree, and it's a passive boost skill that enhances the effectiveness of medicinal berries. Being a passive boost skill simply means that it's going to enhance an ability you already have, in this case your ability to heal. Basically, with Potent Medicine, berries will heal you more and heal you faster. Now, I know this isn't the most exciting skill, but it's critical for the early game. Remember, just like at the start of Zero Dawn, Aloy starts out with pretty low health and only basic armor and weapons. Also, just like in Zero Dawn, the early game machines can hit you really hard. In fact, it seems like they can even hit a little harder than in Zero Dawn. In the first game it was Watchers and Striders, now it's Burrowers, Scroungers, and Chargers, but regardless the concept is the same. These machines might be small, but they pack a pretty big punch that you really don't want to take. Realistically though, you are going to take some hits, and any skill that can help you keep your health levels up and keep you alive is well worth the investment. That's why I recommend Potent Medicine as our very first skill. Now that same logic applies to my second recommended skill, Low Health Defense. Staying in the Survivor branch, this skill is the first node to the right of Potent Medicine, and it's another passive boost that goes a long way in keeping you alive and in the fight during the early game. While Potent Medicine increases the effectiveness of medicinal berries so you can heal faster, Low Health Defense helps to reduce the amount of damage you take in the first place. In particular, it reduces damage taken while you're at the critical health level. The skill tree explains that the critical health level is defined as below 25%, so this is pretty much when you're getting the red damage bloom effect on screen. The skill tree also explains that the damage reduction is 40%, which is a really nice chunk of damage resistance. That easily can and will be the difference between you being able to take that one last hit before finishing off an enemy, or having them finish you off. Again, just like Potent Medicine, for a single skill point, Low Health Defense is a great early investment. So with skill number 3, we're finally going to do something exciting and hop over to the Hunter branch to pick up another passive boost, Concentration Plus. Now even though Aloy's health and gear have been massively nerfed compared to the end of Zero Dawn, it makes sense that she's retained some skills through her extensive experience as a machine hunter. One of those skills she's retained is Concentration, which you have immediately when you start the game. However, the base level of Concentration isn't quite what it was towards the end of the first game. The concentration meter isn't very big and it depletes pretty quickly, so you don't have very much time in the slow motion state to line up shots. On top of that, it looks like Aloy also retained the Hunter Reflexes skill, but it's been massively nerfed. Remember, in Zero Dawn, Hunter Reflexes gave you a slow motion effect while jumping and sliding. Aloy does appear to have this ability right from the start, but the length of the slow-mo effect has been drastically reduced. What's more, it doesn't appear that there's any skills available to bring it back to its former glory. All of this is to say that Concentration is going to be a very important combat ability, and you're going to want to buff it as soon as you can. Picking up Concentration Plus is the first step down that path. Now skill number 4 is where our opinions might start to diverge. Some of you may want to continue down the Hunter branch and pick up skills like Deep Concentration to further boost the concentration ability. Or you might be looking to begin working your way down the Infiltrator branch if you're more of an extra stealthy ninja type player. However, I would strongly recommend you begin picking up some skills in the Warrior branch. So my 4th recommended skill, and our first active skill, is Resonator Blast. Now at the end of your brief visit back to Meridian, Avad gifts Aloy a new spear. And as part of the main storyline, Aloy modifies the spear with a master override and a new component that she calls a Resonator. The Resonator stores up kinetic energy as you use your spear in combat, and once it reaches a charge state, which is indicated by glowing blue, you can energize a target by hitting them with an R2 heavy attack. Then, you can shoot the blue glowing energy that gets transferred onto them to deal a big chunk of damage. Now this is a totally new mechanic, and it's one that you're definitely going to want to start utilizing. Resonator blasts are very strong, and they're super helpful when fighting machines and human enemies in the early game while you still only have basic weapons and armor. Landing one of these Resonator blast shots is one of the best ways for you to deal a lot of damage quickly in the early game. It takes some practice to get the timing down to land that arrow shot on the glowing blue energy, but believe me, it's worth putting a bit of time in to master this. For my recommended skill number 5, we're staying in the warrior branch and heading down to the right to pick up Block Breaker, which is a melee combat skill that breaks a human enemy's weapon guard. Now I'll be honest, this skill won't be particularly useful until you start fighting more human enemies, but I recommend it for a few reasons. First, it's the first active skill that requires you to do a specific R1-R2 combo. These combos are also a new mechanic, and some of them are very strong. For example, the aerial slash jump that's a little further down the warrior branch. So it's a good idea to start getting used to doing these combos with a simple one like Block Breaker. Second, it's going to help us on our path to getting the critical boost Valor Surge, which I would argue is the first Valor Surge that you should pick up. More on that in an upcoming video. But the most important reason we want to get Block Breaker is so that we can continue further down the warrior branch to pick up our next skill, melee damage. Skill number 6, and the final skill to round out this video, is going to be melee damage, a passive boost skill that increases your damage dealt with light and heavy attacks by a solid 30%. I think this skill is really important for the early game because the reality is, just like in Zero Dawn, the best way to deal with a lot of early machines is to just give them a few good whacks with your spear. Trying to take them down with the default weapons can be frustrating, and it will be a little while before you can get weapons and skills that will allow you to deal a lot of damage. Plus, you're going to want to conserve resources at the start to save up for those better weapons, so getting comfortable using your spear to take down machines and human enemies is a very smart move. By boosting the damage from every spear hit by nearly a third, melee damage will help you do exactly that. Alright guys, so those are the 6 skills I recommend you get first as you begin playing Horizon Forbidden West. Also guys, keep in mind that skill points are plentiful from doing side quests, taking on errands, and completing the main missions, so don't agonize too much over which skills you pick up first. These are the 6 that I recommend, but you could certainly get great results from choosing different ones. I think that's one of the great things about the new skills system in Forbidden West. You can really customize your skill selection to tailor Aloy's abilities to any playstyle you want, and it doesn't really feel like any one branch overpowers the others. They've given us some really cool options across the board, which is awesome. That being said, I'd love to hear what you guys think about the first skills to pick up, so leave me a comment about that down below. Now there's a lot more to learn about the skill tree and other new elements of the game, and I've got some great guides covering that stuff coming out soon. So if you want to learn more, make sure you hit that secret red button down below so you know when I've got another video for you. And hey, while you're down there, if you enjoyed this video or if you learned something, go ahead and hit that like button too. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you very soon with more guides for the Forbidden West.